Good afternoon. I'll call this special meeting of the St. George Council to order. Everybody has the agenda. Just before I ask for a motion to approve it, there's I can add the committees. Everybody has been sent a list of committees which if this agenda is approved, we can go one by one to actually approve and get last. So having said that, I will move for having a motion to somebody motion to actually approve the agenda.
I make that motion that we accept the agenda as given to us.
Second. In favor?
Aye.
The first item in the agenda is a presentation by our auditors, Pete, Saunders, and Doyle. Mr. Andrew Logan, Chief Waller, are going to present the results of the financial audit. At the end of the presentation, we'll have some questions. And hopefully, by the end of this exercise, we'll be able to approve this audit and move on. So, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having us this evening. My name is Andrew Logan. I'm a partner at Pete Saunders Doyle. Today I have Pete Waller with me, working in the audit, senior. And I believe this is your second year. I'm engagement. Very good. The manager on the file is actually puts around the audit, so she won't be able to be with us. But our plan today is to go through the financial statements and our auditor's report. Talk a little bit about the results of our audit and what we observed during the process. And if there are any questions, please stop me. I'm some counselors this year, and the financial statements for municipalities can be complicated and sometimes difficult to understand. So I'll try to do my best to clarify things. But if there are any questions, please ask as we go. Mark Porter as well, so he's the man that is involved in. So between the three of us, we should be able to answer all questions.
I'm kind of answer one question for clarification, because you want to just use some substance for the end. If you say something that you don't understand, we definitely have to interact and say what do you mean.
That's fine.
Okay, so
thank you. Okay, so the draft financial statements were distributed last week, and I'm going to start at the beginning on page 1. And this is our auditor's report. So this is the document that we attach to the financial statements that have been prepared by the town. And our auditor's report lays out the responsibilities for these financial statements, our responsibility as auditors, and of course, the most important part, our opinion on these financial statements. And not to give away the ending, but our opinion is the second paragraph at the start. You can see that, I'll just read it. It says, in our opinion, the accompanying financial statements present fairly in all material respects the financial position of the municipality at December 31st, 2020, which is your fiscal year, and the results of its operations and changes in net debt for the year that ended in accordance with Canadian public sector accounting standards. So what that essentially means is we have a clean audit opinion. We found no errors, no issues, and the financial statements have been prepared in accordance with the appropriate rules. And it's kind of important to mention Canadian public sector accounting standards. These are standards that are published nationwide that dictate how municipalities and municipal organizations like service commissions, for example, are to present their financial information. So this is a standard reporting package and be comparable to how they account or send. Okay, the other thing I was wanting to mention on the audit report is about halfway down the page, you see a section there called responsibilities management, and those charged with governance. So management is quite straightforward. Those charged with governance would be the council. Okay. So ultimately, it's your responsibility to make sure that the financial information of the town is properly reported. You lay out the responsibility on management to do that, and require us as auditors to check to make sure that in fact it's done. So that is sort of the layers of responsibility of each party to the statements. Okay. I do want to point out one other thing before we get off the audit report. Just down the last paragraph on that page, talks about our responsibilities. So just starting with, says our objectives are to obtain reasonable assurance that whether or not consolidated statements as a whole are free from material misstatement, whether that's due from fraud or error, and then to issue an audit report to complete our opinion. Okay, it's important to know that reasonable assurance is not 100%. It's impossible to keep 100% accuracy, but it's a high level. In the statistical world, you have to refer to it as 95%. So that's what an audit does. So there is a lot of work that goes behind getting assurance level up to 95%. But that is what quantitatively is. Okay, that's it for that. Next page is just the last part of the audit report. There's a date there at the bottom under Untitled Chapter. That will be dated today, assuming council approves the financial statements. And once that happens, I sign the audit report and the statements are ready to be published. Okay. All right, we're just going to jump into the main body of the statements. Now, what I'm planning on doing here, and again, if you want to get into some detail, that's fine. I thought I would just sort of touch on each statement, key statement in the package, sort of give you folks what I see as important points from this page and what it means. You can understand when you look at these numbers, what you're seeing here. Some of the variances, there's a lot of information in the back of the statement about the expense variances and the revenues variances. I don't plan to go too deep into those from the high level ones, some of the more major ones. But you know, if there are some questions on specific variances, that might be better off for perhaps. So on page 3, we have the consolidated statement of operations, sometimes referred to as statement. It's really quite simply laid out. We have our revenues at the top of the page for the year, broken down by various categories. And these statements also show the budget amount, actual amount for 2020. So this year we ended up with total revenues of 3.89. That was significantly over budget. And the main reason for that is because there was a significant amount of additional transfers, primarily that would be designated highway funding and gas tax money. And that is never budgeted because it's never known for sure or with great deal of certainty whether. And the thing about those revenue items is they tend to be a flow through. What I mean by that is the money comes in from the spend. For example, the designated highway is a good example where it was for 370,000 in 2020 to work out designated highways within the so money in. And that is the primary reason for the large uptake in revenue. Most of the other line items are very, very close to budget because they are known. The markets know, because a lot of these things are very close to budget, and we would expect them to be close to budget. Under expenditures, we have just a little under 3.7 million this year for total expenditures in the various categories. Transportation services, you can see on that line item that there is a increase in their actual spend versus budget. This relates to that designated highway funding that I just mentioned. When those revenues come in from the province, they will turn around and spend on roads and streets, and those costs will be captured in that account. So that's what you see the variance there. But overall for the year, the annual surplus is $206,000. Now, it's important to understand that these statements are prepared under public sector accounting rules, right? And they are different than the accounting rules that are used to set your annual budget for the province. Okay? There are some primary differences, and that's usually the story that I raise. The public sector accounting statements we're looking at today have depreciation included. And so depreciation is that notional charge and your assets are used up or consumed in activities, they wear out and the value decreases. So that annual decrease in value is captured in the depreciation. So if we buy a snowplow, we expect the last 10 years, we write the costs off over 10 years. So these
Depreciation and amortization, the one is the same.
exactly. And so that cost is included. Under your funding model, the projects, they don't account for depreciation. The funding model is more driven by cash. So instead of depreciation, they would have a name that controls debt service. You know, how much debt made on a loan. And that of course is not included in the second statement because debt repayments are expected. So these are some of the major differences. And there is a reconciliation. It's like seeing the back of the statements that sort of takes us through the major changes and how we go from a surplus for accounting to a surplus for funding. It's confusing, but so that's it for the statement of operations. On page 4, this next statement is referred to as the statement of financial position. Some people call it the balance sheet. What it is a snapshot of the assets and liabilities of the town at its year end. And it's laid out in a sort of a, if anybody has seen a normal set of financial statements, you have assets, liabilities, and equity at the bottom. This one's laid out a little bit different, where we start with our financial assets. So those are things that are cash or cash like, bank accounts and receivables and those types of things. Then we have our liabilities listed there. Bank indebtedness, accounts payable, deferred revenues, long-term debt, those types of things. And we come down to a net debt number.
Actually, pension liabilities are not part of the list.
Pension liabilities?
Yes.
No, the only liability we put here is the liability.
So the pension liability pension to our staff is not captured here.
The pension in this town, it's what we call a defined contribution pension. So there is no future liability for the town without benefits, only contribution. But there is an accrued sick leave benefit, which is similar. Okay. We're down to net debt, and then we have our non-financial assets, which essentially are our tangible capital assets, and that's the roads, the streets, the water and sewer infrastructure, equipment, etc. Less the depreciation or amortization, if we take it on that, provides us with a net book value of 12.6 million. It's inventory, small bit of land, and it's people. So at the end of the year, our accumulated surplus is 11.1 million, which has increased from the prior year. And the reason for that increase is because of the surplus. We have a surplus, our accumulated surplus. So, our takeaway from that would be that our financial health of the town has improved. We have more assets and liabilities. Our debt has come down. And our assets, basically our tangible capital assets, have basically remain the same. And we'll talk a little bit about the reinvestment in those accounts. So, any questions there?
I have a question on page 4.
Yes.
Land inventory for sale is a valuation of $1,000. What asset you are referring to that cost $1,000?
That would be the original cost of the land that was acquired, and I don't have the details of filming. Mark, for you?
Yeah, that would be a chunk of land over in the industrial park that's undeveloped.
So this doesn't represent a fair market value.
No, I'm saying that because I know that we have several pieces of land in our towns in the world. One of them is next to the harvest. I'm sure it's valued even at acquisition price more than $1,000. So this is not captured.
No, most of those other pieces of land would be under your capital asset schedule because they weren't held for resale. This was the only one that they were going to develop and resell at the time.
I'm going to actually come back to that point after other councilors have other questions. Because I don't understand the logic by which certain I know that seven parcels are actively being promoted for sale, so you have only dealt with only one, so it's nice to know what is our inventory in terms of land assets that the town can count that eventually can liquidate and make the most money. So,
There is over 400,000 in land that's classified under the assets.
okay,
Okay, look, and there's a schedule that has some information on that.
okay,
We'll
thank you.
look further on.
Yes. Any questions?
Thank you. I think what I'd like to do is skip over page 5, and that's really just the reconciliation of net debt. Most of the information on that page we'll be discussing as we do the notes. But I do want to stop for a second on page 6. So page 6 is a statement of cash flows, and again, this is a pretty standard statement that you're going to see in most everybody's financial statements. And what it does is it shows how the change in the cash position occurred during the year. Okay, so during 2020, our overall cash position in the town decreased by $290,000. So we started the year, I'm just looking at the bottom of the page. We started the year with 590, 301. So our net cash decreased by 2 million. So where that cash went is described here in these notes. So at the top part of this schedule, we have our operating transaction. So those are things like the surplus that we generated, 2.6. That's not a cash expense. And some other adjustments. So our total cash provided from operating the town is 6.6. Okay. Then we turned around and spent $709,000 on new assets. We'll talk a little bit in a second where that money was spent. That's reinvested in the infrastructure. And then below that, in the financing section, we paid down our temporary bank loans. We paid down some capital leases we had. We received a new debenture this year for $240. And we paid $191 on our existing debentures. So that used up another 206 of our cash. So we bought assets for 709 instead of 206 on debt activities. We produced 600 from operating. The net is a reduction of 2 million. And normally, your overall cash position is typical of towns. Most towns run, fairly closely working on a cash flow basis. We have 300 in the bank, but some of that is the gas tax money that's not been spent yet. But in terms of the operating account, we can be plus or minus, but generally it runs close to zero for most of the time. Okay. All right. So starting on page 7 on are the notes to the financial statements. And there are a lot of pages here, over 20. So I'm going to kind of skip around with note 1 is just the standard purpose of the organization, and that's unchanged from year to year. Note 2 talks a little bit about the summary of significant accounting policy. So this again is trying to describe how some of these things are accounted for within the entity. I think Jason had sent an email about somebody had asked a question regarding depreciation, how depreciation is determined on assets. So depreciation in this world is a relatively new concept. 10 years ago, before public sector accounting standards, assets were not depreciated. So as you continue to reinvest in the municipality, your asset values continue to escalate and grow and grow and grow. So if you paid your street in 1960 and you paid it again in 1980, those costs just kept getting added in. So the financial statements would become distorted. It didn't make a lot of sense. That's why the concept of depreciation came into play. If you know that streets and infrastructure doesn't last, and that that's where it eventually needs to be. Depreciation tries to capture. So a couple of things. First of all, we know that depreciation is an estimate, right? Nobody knows for certain how long a particular asset is going to last. So note on the top of page 8, the little section that talks about use of estimates. And one of the big ones, obviously, in the town is depreciation, because we base it on the estimated useful life of the various asset categories. And if you look at page 9, There's a whole page there that talks about tangible capital assets and how we come up with what gets recorded as an asset. See the real threshold of $5,000. And then that those values are depreciated or amortized on a straight line basis over their estimated useful life. So it's not the accountants that determine this. A lot of the times, well, the public sector accounting standards will implement a lot of municipalities, and I'm assuming before, had to hire engineering firms to come in and give estimates on state affairs and structure, and then how long it's expected to last. So that these depreciation rates could be set. But you know, if it was set down,
Not a lot. It was not them. They've done the asset management plan since then.
so depreciation is that it can change. I mean, you can buy an asset and say, think it's for the last 10 years, and after we have it for a year or two, 3 we realize, oh, it's only because of whatever it's used for. So the estimates can change, okay, and that's what those notes describe as new information becomes available. We understand with more accuracy, we can change the estimates, we can change the information. But at the end of 2020, the rates that are on page 9 are the ones that are enforced at a particular time. And the town maintained a very detailed fixed asset continuity schedule where all the additions are broken up on all the various categories. And the appropriate depreciation rates are applied to them. And it's the auditors who go in and check that, we check the math, we check the rates, check the additions, we check the disposals, to make sure that all of those things are being maintained accurately. Okay. The next page I want to stop on is page 11. So this is more detail on the balance sheet of some of the asset balances that we saw on page 5 or page 4, sorry. So there's your breakdown of cash. We've got some money in our reserve funds, we've got some money in our gas tax fund, and then our general operating account. About $6,000. Also some receivables at the end of the business year, some money that was owed, CRA one, would be HST. Got some money from the province listed out there. And note 6 describes this is back to deadness. So at the end of 2019, there was actually interbank loan outstanding for $240,000, which was like a venture. Page 12. This is just a breakdown of our deferred revenue. So deferred revenue stands for money that we've got that we haven't spent yet, that's designated for a specific purpose. So, for example, these ones the gas tax section at the bottom of that schedule. So these are the gas tax funds that would have come in to the cost of these bank account that we haven't spent yet on the project. So we give them as deferred revenue, and it shows a liability. Project or expense that has to be incurred in the future.
Can you extend that for me to explain to us the nature of the gas tax?
Yes, well, sure. So the gas tax fund is federal money that's transferred to the county under revenue sharing agreements. It has a designated purpose. You can't sort of use it for general operation. Generally, it's used for transportation infrastructure projects. And I'm not 100% familiar with the application process. That project's approved, that projects are applied for, approved, and then the money spent. Okay. And as you can see this year, we began the year with 130,000 in the bank. We received 104. We earned a little bit of interest on the account. Any interest earned on those funds has to be kept in the account again, cannot be spent for other purposes. We had 203 approved for designated projects, and so we ended with 31,000 compared to for 2020. Page 13, there's some capital assets that are under these obligations listed there. Not spend much time on. Creating the finance smaller acquisitions, especially with low interest rates. Page 14, we have our long-term debt schedules. So these would be the provincial detachments of definition for various capital projects. They were broken down by the general capital fund and utility capital, volunteer capital. As you can see, the interest rates are quite low. This is why our interest costs are low. In the middle of the page there, there's a section that says principal payments required during the next 5 years. So you can see the annual principal that we've got to pay each year for the next 5 years. Each one of those that we actually pay out. And the two new ones that we received in 2020 are at the bottom. Those then 3,000 applied to the capital and 47 applied to the capital. Any questions? There's a fairly lengthy note there on accrued sick leave. I'm not going to go through all that. The liability is not significant, but if you had a defined benefit pension, we talked about earlier, that again would be described in this note, and all the assumptions on how it's valued, the obligations, and the pension liability, and the defined contribution plan that we have here. That's the issue. Note 12 is kind of an important note. There are certain parameters and requirements the town must operate under in terms of borrowing, short-term borrowings. And, as auditors, we do make sure you're in compliance with those annually. And there's a note there that talks about that under operating borrowing, fund borrowing, that you know, in compliance with both those requirements. Note 14 just talks about the fact that a significant portion of your water sewer revenues from one particular district. So when there's a concentration of risk, you describe that and disclose the financial statement.
Can you repeat that, please?
Say that again?
Can you repeat that, please?
Yes, so note 14, so when a significant concentration of revenues are with one particular customer or customer group, this is the case with the one sewer, it needs to be disclosed in the financial statements, and we call that economic dependence. I mean, there is some correlation that now is economically dependent on the fish processing industry, which will be for 34.3% of its water processing industry. It's actually down a little bit from last year.
The practice of grouping water and sewer is universally practiced across the municipalities.
Well, a lot of municipalities call it the utility fund, maybe not water and sewer. Some municipalities don't have water services, a lot of them have water services. Obviously, with water and sewer, that's a sewer system, that's a utility systems. So this note 15 is there's a bit of a reconciliation of surpluses that the town. So there are some rules in the provincial funding model that the town must account for past surpluses. So if you make a surplus in a particular year, 2 years out, you have to budget, you must account for that surplus as part of the revenue. So with the deficit, if you have a deficit, again, you must do that as part of your expenditure base. We've only ever had 2 years of surplus deficits. So at the end of 2020, there's a schedule that says composition of current assets and what that's comprised of. So you can see that we had surpluses in 2019, general utility fund. In 2020, we had surplus in the general fund of $140. Small deficit in the utility fund of $21. And that's some reserves. So our surplus positions to be $585. We'll talk about the reserves section. schedule. So what this means is in the budget for 2023, you will need to account for this year's surplus. Well, on the next basis, 140 for general, that's it, 2. Okay,
Can you repeat the last statement, that in the budget of 2023, to account for what?
so in 2020, under the provincial funding model, the town had a surplus of $140,000 in the general fund. So what the province wants you to do is, when it comes to trying to do the 2023 budget, and you're setting the warrant in the budgeting process, you need to include that 140,000 as a revenue addition. So all things being equal, that could actually decrease the warrant required. The expenses will not change. But basically saying, if you have a surplus, you must allow the taxpayers to get relief from that surplus 2 years out. And then the same thing with deficit. If you have a deficit 2 years out, the taxpayers have to pay for it. Okay. All right. On page 18, this is just a breakdown of revenues and expenses by the various departments within the municipality. Some have surpluses, some have deficits. It's more just information. Transportation had a large surplus this year. That was because of some of the traditional transfers that came over. It's not pointed for the meeting. Your salt and sand budget was significantly less in 2020 than was planned, almost 50 grand. So that's that would be some of the reasons why there's a full review of $206,000 surplus. Yeah, winter storms are a wild card. Go the other way just quickly. This page 19 is one. This is where we sort of look at where we were at surplus, county rules, where we are in the funding model, and we can sort of see some of the reconciling items that we have to account for in the budget. So if you look at the general operating fund, we did have a surplus of 348 this year. Financial statements. When you factor sort of some of the things that are required from the budget model, you end up with $140,000 surplus. I hope it's surplus, but I can think of a couple of major things. We just talked about the salt and sand budget, it's 50,000. We go to the recreation. In the year of COVID, there was a whole lot of outdoor festivals last year, or a lot of money spent on recreational area. Some of these colleges do out recreation area costs we had significantly. We had welfare closures, rent closures, festivals that didn't occur, so most of those costs were a lot less than that. Look at $40,000 pickup on that. Salt and recreation. Look at something other areas expensive for that, but that's where that 140 came from. Okay, on page 20. So the town is permitted to accumulate reserves for future use. And on this schedule, we have 4 different reserves set up. So in total, in aggregate, we have 263,000. This year, we transferred just a small amount of $5,400 into the water and sewer capital reserve. And we withdrew $30,000 from water and sewer operating costs. So overall, our reserve fund decreased to $2,500. That's still 263 inside. These are healthy. As you know, any of these transfers to the reserve need to be approved by council motion. And actually, the next page of page 21, province requires a statement signed by town clerk. Any questions on the reserves?
Can you explain please to us, what are the reserves?
So the reserves are surpluses that the town has set aside for future expenditures. And under the provincial funding guidelines in the municipality act, towns are permitted to take chunks of their funds and move it into these reserves and not have to account for them 2 years henceforth, like we talked about on the surplus investment.
Okay,
Now, the issue is you gotta do it before the end of the year. So you can't dig your financial statements out and say, oh, look, we made $140,000 surplus, let's transfer that to the reserve. It has to be done before December 31st. And so that is always the tricky part, is to make sure that the financial information is accurate. And when you make those motions in December or November, you can move some of that money into the reserve. And then it's up to your discretion where it gets spent. Okay, I'm not going to talk about page 22. Skip over the, we didn't skip over page 17. Sorry, I want to stop there. I'll pull it up, pull it out, skip it over. If we can just go back to page 17 for a second. So page 17 is the a lot of detail on the tangible capital assets of the town. All right, and this is the breakdown, which we talked about earlier on the land. And improvements. See where it's categories across the top. The total is $26.4 million. That's the years of construction. So this year we added almost 730,000. Another 700,000 spent. We disposed of $110,000 worth of assets. That was primarily small street construction. And our depreciation on all of our assets this year is $750,000. And I'm getting those numbers out of the 2022. Yeah, this is a very good schedule if you want to get an understanding of where your dollars is invested. Schedule is pretty good. Now the town spent, as I said, 730,000 on assets this year. 280,000 came out of your operating money, operating funds. There's lease. We had some donations from the public. And then the balance of the assets were financed through gas tax money, and provincial or federal programs. So that takes us back to page 23. And the last several pages of the provide a significant amount of detail for the revenues and expenses. So all of the detail here tie back to page 4, which is the statement we looked at. And we give you a breakdown of each of the revenue and expenditure categories. Just a bit more into where everybody goes, what the budget, what the expectation was, and how much we actually spent. So under revenues, and this one does show nicely, sort of in the center of the page there, you see a section called conditional transfer from other governments. And we only budgeted $650 this year in that section, but we actually received $849,000. And the breakdown is listed there. And these would be programs that would be applied for either in 2019 or 2020, but the amounts would have not been known because they were uncertain in the budget time, so they weren't included. As I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, most of this is a flow through. It's spent within there. Most other revenue categories are very comparable to the budget for the prior year. Under the expenses, starting on page 24, again, I'm not going to spend a lot of time looking at the variances. I think on page 25, near the bottom, you can see what I was speaking about earlier. The budget $60,000 and $2,000 spent. Some pretty significant savings there. Obviously translated to surplus. The other one that Mark had pointed out to me just before we sat down on the next page, page 26 again.
Before we go to 25, page 25, let's just go back to building inspection and animal control. Are these as revenue or as an expense?
This would be expenses.
It would be expensive. So building inspection are fees for the state insurance commission. So okay. And animal control is for, we don't have an animal control. Is a fund that the SPCA provide animal control. So if just for information, if a person on Sunday wants to catch a dog, he calls yes, SPCA.
All right, the other variance I just wanted to point out is on the bottom of page 26. There's a paragraph or the section that says other recreational cultural activities. You can see the festival events was budgeted at 38.2, actual is 6,500. Up under other recreational facility costs, almost all of items are down below budget. That's a very typical thing we can see this year.
Can I ask, just for comparison, I noticed that our tourist bureau and promotion and other tourism are actually higher in 2020. Is that because of COVID? Robert, yes, it's tourist bureau, 18, 40, 18, 40. Okay,
I would like to go back to look to page 25 on your road transportation. The budget on the second and third personnel roads and streets 29,000. The actual was 94,000.
That's the money for repairing the slope. So that's money that came in from designated highways in the province.
Okay.
It was spent on that, so it was just in head.
In that.
It shows in the revenue section as well as the expense.
Yeah, there was $369,000 of revenue.
Just for that.
Right, and the costs would be captured.
There was one other big variance on page 26. It's in the planning and development services section of other development. There's 300 in the budget, there's 37,000 in the actual for the
Yes.
year. And that's mainly another flow through one that is regional development corporation money came in and it was spent on various projects. Which weren't budgeted because they didn't know they received the funding.
I have a question. We have a tourist bureau in St. George. We don't. But, COVID was last year, So what was this money for?
They're sold.
It's all that.
We're still open, yes, we will. And we still provided facilities for people in the province of New Brunswick that were driving through. That in the time, we were allowed to still be open as long as it stayed within the province of New Brunswick. So the tourist bureau did stay open, and there was still costs for that.
We were paying for the space.
This contract.
Yeah, the point-
Okay, well, look, I think that's all I want to talk about. in terms of financial statements. I do want to just talk briefly about the audit. Open for questions. So, as a start of conversation, our job as auditors is to make sure that the financial statements that are prepared by management are done so correctly. The numbers that are portrayed here are accurate and not material stated. And that all the disclosure requirements that are required by accounting rules have been met. It's our job. And we do that by working with the town office, reviewing the council minutes, talking to the various people involved in town functions, order who's your contact with CFO, your opponent. We look at detailed transactions, we're looking at payroll records, we're looking at disbursement records, we're verifying budgets. So it's a lot of detailed work. And it's not 100%. We do a lot of testing. We look at 50 payroll transactions for the year. Based on that. Significant items, we look at. We send out confirmations to banks and other folks to make sure the numbers agree with their records. So all of this work gets combined and compressed into that one-page report or two-page report to start the financial statement. The other part of our job is to, when we're looking at the systems and accounting processes in place, is to assess them for internal control effectiveness. Meaning, are they, if you have a control in place to prevent the problem, is it effectively working? Or is there a total lack of control? So these are other things that we will be observing, not particularly looking for, but obviously the triple cross that thing. In 2019, I think there were 4 items on our management letter. Around different, most of them I would call clerical things. 2 of them have been dealt with after 2020. There are 2 still remaining, which we talked to Jason staff about. Will one of them was around having evidence, documentation around wage or salary changes. One of the things we do when we do our payroll testing is if a particular employee gets paid a raise, we want to see that rate that's been approved by Jason or somebody. That's the appropriate rate that this person's being paid. And in some cases, we weren't able to see that approval in the employee record. Not saying that it wasn't approved, just saying there was no evidence that we could see. So our recommendation would be just to make sure that as the annual reviews for employees are conducted and salary increments are paid, that's signed off by the appropriate person, whether it's somebody else in the department, and that's a piece of paper or record that's filed. The other item in our medical letter this year is around communication of budget information and expenditure controls for various departments. And this is a comment that Jason actually brought up to us, is that to improve expenditure control, we'd like to have a more frequent interaction with the various department heads to provide more information in terms of their budgets, both down perhaps, and then provide actual budget as they go through the year, so we can see what's going on within the budget they control, and not sort of shut in the year and say, oh, you're over budget by X amount of dollars. and not notice as they move through this issue. And again, that just speaks to good fiscal management and good governance. So they're the only two items that we would have to report this year.
I have a comment. The question. You mentioned this problem with documentation. Records, procedures. And you only limited the scope of the comment to personnel related matter. Right? Can you look to what extent this problem may be more pervasive and include capturing transactions of the town with third parties or similar types of transactions?
Well, as part of our audit procedures, we would be, so for example, let's talk about expense. So we do what we call expense testing. So we would select a sample of expenditures that the town has incurred during the year. It could be for anything. It's random. Okay, it could be for a bottle of water, it could be for a cup, fuel, it could be for anything. We would select a sample and we would be taking them through the process of how that, a purchase order, an invoice from the supplier, a check requisition, an actual check, agreeing all the information, making sure all the appropriate approvals were done, and that the checks were signed by the appropriate people at the time before they were released. We would also check to make sure those expenditures were recorded in the right buckets so that the financial information is accurate. And during the course of the disbursements testing, we found no evidence of any issues. Now, to be very clear, we didn't test everything. Okay? We're only based on the sample that we selected. Again, we use computer software to take all of your accounting transactions for the whole year, and the software goes in and selects the ones we want to look at based on the criteria that we choose. So there is a little science behind it. But to your point, I mean, not having full documentation employee files is not specific to you folks. It's something we find pretty much everywhere we go. It's one of those things where, unless you have a dedicated human resource department with lots of admin folks, this kind of stuff doesn't always get into the right files. Perhaps you guilty of it. But, when we look at, as I said, when we do our payroll testing, we do pull the employee file out because we want to make sure that the pay rate system are accurate. We don't see something that proves what says the pay rate is supposed to be this, and we'll say, that's the document.
As a newcomer to the business of this town, I found that the problem that you described is not only limited to records pertaining to personnel transactions and people requests, but in general, our filing and record keeping system is in need of some improvement. I wish if the process, like for example, transactions online, you capture the exact conditions may affect the value of the assets or what we can expect from the transaction. These are can be major line items. Unless captured properly, may lead to discrepancies after a few years as the information flows. So I take note of the comment as a concept
Okay, I think that is it for our presentation.
Just I can start from one side.
Okay. No, I think you guys have always done a great job for us. I've been on council before and I've never had any issues with anything that you reported, and I'm fine with everything.
Sam?
I don't speak accounting. What I get from this is that financial health is improved. Is that right? It's improved in 2020, and the debts come down in essence, they're the same. That's what I get from what you say, yes?
Yes.
in my signature.
It's good. It's good. That's good.
I guess I do have one question around the communication, the 4 issues that you brought up from last year. And you said 2 issues have been dealt with and 2 issues that are still working. Do you have a recommendation on how we can move forward on these 2 issues so that we can encapsulate them and have them dealt with?
Yeah, so when we publish the financial statements, we will publish our management letter, that will go with the statements. And there will be a description in the management letter, there will be a description of our observation. And then there will be a paragraph where problem with the observation will create. And it's, again, it needs to be taken in context. Sometimes our proposals, while we might propose a perfect solution, there's always constraints. We will provide with us our knowledge.
First of all, thank you for walking us through this report. I learned a lot, actually. I just want to just make 2 notes. Like Barbara, I do not speak accounting language at all. My concern is about the readability of the text. Like if you would copy, for example, for on page 2, like I just took 1, 2, 3, the 4th bullet, like I copied and pasted this. The university would taught this readability index. So you would take a text and you would copy and paste it on this index, and it would tell you approximately how many years of education would be required to comprehend it. And for this particular point, it was 20.5 years. So we're talking graduate level PhD. So I understood that it was touching base on, I understood the general concept or your opinion and why you think this, but in terms of like nuts and bolts, definitely went over my head, and I'm sure I can speak for others as well. So that's one point. That's one point. And the other things is when you go through like what like in terms of budget, you go through the categories, you have a lot of others. So we don't know what exactly that's required to, so what we're spending money on. So that's something that I think that we could possibly look at in the future, more solely expanding those points.
I go, your observation on another report is very interesting. Because this is a national standard report as published by CPA Canada. And it is supposed to take into consideration all walks of life, all levels of education. For to understand. And I really appreciate that comment because we as accountants who are applying this standard, nobody ever said it. My job is to try to translate it so that non-accountants can understand it. We fight with the academics. Yes.
Well, in my past, I've dealt with budgets like this, and I always regard those people like you, keeping them straight in there and make sure that they're spending what they're actually doing. So thank you again for your report.
I will, just wanted to say one more thing. The town has done a good job in our opinion in terms of paying attention to its financial responsibilities. One of the things that we were happy to see is they have our quarter involved. Mark's got a tremendous amount of experience in this kind of thing. In fact, when we were asked new auditors for George, first we said, using your accounting system, and Mark said, yeah, we're good. What happens, come on board and work quality to the and then also that is the most important part. We can once a year do our thing, but every council meeting we have to reports to on the calendar through the year. And if you don't have good quality for information that's reliable, you're making bad decisions. And I would say that's not the case here. We've got good solid infrastructure below. We've got oversight. And hopefully some good quality information. Your responsibility is the financial governance of the county.
I have just, I have 3 points to raise. Before I do them, I just suggest, just Google an article, why good accountants do bad audits. It's from Harvard Business Review, and I will highly recommend you to take a look at it. It deals with some of the issues which occur among people in the unconscious bias that may develop as you come back to the same operation, to the same client. It's a very good article, so that's a recommendation. That is a recommendation. I have three questions to probably follow. The issue of valuation plans in our assets. There was an entry of $1,000, second number 400K. I want to put that thing in the context of transparency. When our town gets involved with developers, there's a real need to account to our constituents the fact that we're getting value for money for whatever we sell. So referring to a document that will give a realistic value of lands for sale is an important component of our governance. So that's one thing that I would like to potentially come back next year to actually take a closer look on this lands for sale line item. My second point is one on which I will ask you to actually give us a bit more guidance. And that concerns investing on lands that we don't own, fixed assets, lands that we not have a lease. And maybe part of this flow through money, but still we put them in the books and we are liable to maintain them and also our insurance take care of their liabilities company. So I want to understand from in the practice of each account, what is the proper way of accounting for investing on lands that we don't own and we don't have a lease? How we amortize this? What is the value of this asset for our company?
What type of assets would you refer to? Like, are we talking?
Buildings.
Buildings.
Buildings, yes. That they are pretty sure they want to spend some more money to put another building in Canal Beach. All these are assets, even the tourist area, they just yes. They're essentially assets, they're fixed assets, improvements, but they serve a social purpose. But they are built on land that we don't own and we don't have any long-term lease. And we are still liable for it in that category. So I just wonder what is the standard of practice about how to recognize these assets, how to recognize their evaluation and utilization.
It's a good question. I have seen other municipalities in the same situation. Those assets will be reported in here after the cost of the usage and investing in those structures. It was reported here and depreciated based on whatever it's equivalent. I don't really, it's a standard practice. So
If I were a corporation and I was investing money,
you wouldn't do it.
but if I had somebody would have fired me or everybody would have looked for a fraud behind it, whatever. So I'm just wondering, what it comes to the public organization of the municipality. If you have any other examples, what other municipalities do the same and how to deal with it.
Yeah, I'd have to look into that. There was one, we do several, but there's one it's found that I believe that has a similar situation. And I'm thinking some recreational assets, they have one at each and one dedicated recreation center, and I know they don't own the land that those structures sit on. So I can look into that.
I would appreciate that. It's something that's going to come again and again with our staff council. So having some guidance that we agree we are treating the right away from an accounting point of view. It's something. We have just to stress the point that I brought earlier about the fact that our recommendation is in great need of improving not only capturing the transactions that we have, but capturing other transactions. We may also have a financial impact on our balance sheet. That is one that if you go back next year and do the same audit, you have a social things to look at. I would have liked it potentially once in the mixture, some of the non-salary or expense-related transactions can include some transactions which involve fixed assets and conditions that may affect valuations of our balance. So that's a comment for next year, to expand the role of checking whether we have improved the documentation. On certain things that the council will try to look at improving the documentation, and maybe in here you can tell us how well it's done. Any other questions? So unless there are any questions, I will make a motion that we approve the auditors, the audit financial statement for the year 2020. And
I'll second that motion.
all in favor? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Now we are move for a recess, short recess, 10 minutes. To the discussion, the matter of committee, just to introduce the subject. Let's set up here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 committees to propose, and we'll go over them one by one. Anyone wants to add or subtract any committee to that list?
I would add a committee. I'd like to add municipal communications and social media advisory committee.
Well, I will necessarily add that in the list to be accepted or rejected.
It's a municipal communications and social media advisory committee.
All the list that we have here is to be approved or rejected. So we are adding for the list. Municipal communications, social media, social media. Okay, let's start with the we're gonna go one by one, and the question is should we approve a housing and land? Sorry. Housing and Land Use Committee. Question is, anybody have any question for the committee?
What do you mean by housing and land use committee? What do you mean by? Like, is that just?
I'm not proposing, it's in the agenda. Any of the councillors has changed the housing and land use committee. I haven't proposed that.
No, but what I'm asking, is what do you expect out of that?
That's a very good question. And it's for the question of what should do with you, may I actually speak on it?
These sit from the council orientation slide. Some of those averages, these ones here, aren't they? Those ones here. But the ones at the bottom are what from the orientation, and those are rolled up into the slide.
Or should be the ones that we're looking at, the ones that are on top of the documents. Those are the ones that
Oh, okay, so,
Those are the ones that were just examples.
the motion from Alexa, like the social media, committee, and municipal communication. But so the first committee that we discuss is housing, economic development, tourism, and population growth. I don't know. And it includes in there economic development, housing, and I will actually, I have not wrote this words, depending on the clerk, this is something that the clerk edited. The proper word would have been, housing and balanced population growth, very important. Approximately the distinction.
Sorry, one housing
And balanced population growth.
not economic development.
No, this is under the housing, economic development, tourism, population, and balanced population growth.
Okay, so, may I have a question?
Actually,
So out of so the committee is the Housing and Balanced Population Growth and Tourism Committee. And out of that is it Economic Development Committee and Housing and Population Growth?
no. Somebody has actually edited the proposal for the committees and gave me something which I cannot decide. So I will move that we remain the first committee, economic development and balanced population growth. That's it. Economic development and balanced population growth. Any questions? I move that we approve an economic development and balanced population growth committee, advisory committee. Second, anybody second? All in favor? Aye.
It's just a big, I'm not understanding what you expect out of that committee.
So, I'll get back and ask questions. Any question?
I do. The question is, what do you expect out of that committee to do? You want development and housing and population growth, and you want it to balance. So what do you expect out of that group to bring forward back to the council? That's what I'm asking.
Okay, I expect that group to investigate possibilities, opportunities that can add to the economic development of this place, so it will not be a single industry town. That's one potential thing. Like we have a mining industry before we actually brought housing. Having an economic development committee that will include someone who can actually sense that there may be opportunities from the mining industry would be an appropriate input that committee can bring to the council. In the area of the balanced population growth, goes economic development, but also goes with some initiatives that they are available and somebody has to chase or inform us about that they exist. So unless you have some people who are familiar with the programs available for balanced population growth and can guide us what we can do and what we are missing, we may miss a train. So that's why I have proposed an economic development and balanced population growth advisory committee.
It's an advisory committee, so it's not it's a committee of councilors, or it's a committee of councilors and members of the committee.
It's a committee that can include councillors and can include members of the public who have a particular expertise and want to contribute. In fact, one of the things that I have advocated and that also supported so far was that we may need to actually advertise, to actually get these people with expertise to actually come and join us. In
So
some
have-
volunteer capacity.
So it's not a standing committee.
It's not a standing committee, no, but you know, I will encourage councilors to actually be part of that committee. And in fact, after we finish, we may actually have councilors
The way
expressing
that-
interest.
The way that I understand that committee should be is that members who are voted in as councilors should be on any committees.
If
My
you want to join it,
misunderstanding, I'm just saying, I'm asking the question to you.
okay,
The way that I understand it, when any committee is formed, that the town of St. George is involved in, is that an elected official has to sit on that committee.
absolutely.
Okay,
So, absolutely.
that's what I'm asking, I'm just asking questions.
Any member of the council can be part of any or all committees if you have the time and the interest. That should be done. The fundamental raison d'être, the reason for which it exists, such committee is to actually work. So, one person cannot do everything.
No.
Has some expertise on the matter, some interest, and after working with the other members of the advisory committee, bring forward to the council either a recommendation or perhaps some input or something that maybe is wrong. That is the job, but this is what, that is the job of an advisory.
Okay, so the expectation is that a council member would volunteer for one of these committees, or are they delegated?
The expectation is that any member of the council would actually is free to join any of the committees. Any of the committees. There may be cases, if, for example, we approve a social media and municipal communications committee to advise us on how we can do that game of social media, or how our messaging to the world or to our community should be formulated. We may not have anyone in the council that has this expertise. Go ahead.
If there is an advisory committee, and correct me if I'm misunderstanding this, I thought there should be at least one council member on each of these advisory committees, because as Brenda had said, that we have been elected by the town to represent them, so these committees should at least have one council member, and then they report back to the council as a whole, or am I misunderstanding?
That's the way that I
We're
always
just going to
understood.
clarify a couple things. One, we have those standing committees of town, so what we're trying to do here today is strike committees of the town. These will be official town committees, just to be ad hoc committee or anything like that. It's actually working committees, such as a public works committee. So as far as how the makeup of those are, I mean, we up to the mayor's discretion of appointments, but in the past it has been sort of each council to set up each one of these committees sort of utilize for council to serve in some capacity in each of these committees. I would say all committee councils on every committee, having all council hold in a meeting, unfortunately, but certainly having some sort of makeup of good coverage on each committee. But that again, would be at the discretion of the council.
In the council, no, just to tell that, one simple question, the difference between, after having a discussion with all the members, the difference between this council and previous council is that we will try to operate not with portfolios, as you know, we have departments, we have the minister of transportation, the minister of. We
Oh,
try-
I understand that. I think that's a great opportunity. I
Yes.
think it's great. But as an elected official for this town,
Yes.
I feel that an official elected person should be on a committee, because it was the town of St. George residents that voted us in.
Absolutely.
And that's what I'm just saying.
Absolutely, and the way that we do that is after we go through the list of the committees, every councillor may choose one 2 or 3 committees that you may want to get involved. I will encourage you to actually use the maximum amount of time that you have and all the interest that you have really part of each one of the committee that you're gonna.
And I agree with you there. I agree with you there. I think it's great, but what I'm saying though, is when you're asking about this one,
Yes.
then one of us
Yes.
should say, okay, we will look after that.
I will look after the economic development and.
Exactly,
balance
that's
the
what I'm
commission.
saying.
Yes,
Okay,
absolutely,
so like, just
So-
as an example, I would say, at this time, that is not the one I feel I want to be a part of.
Okay.
Then Sam could say, oh yeah, that's what I want to do.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
like, it should be a volunteer basis on each one of us feel that we, as a council, would put our time and effort in and would want to bring it forward back to council and make it sound good, make it look good to the residents, make the residents feel that, man, they really want to do this, they really want to bring this out.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying.
You know that, that thing, the other thing, like advisory committees is that they do their job. The due diligence or the contacting of opportunities and they come back to the council. They don't have any authority to absolutely not to come back to the council.
Like
And at that time, let me finish. And at that time, the council may choose to reject the recommendation or adopt the recommendation. So the ultimate authority of what to do with the output of the committee rests with this council.
Right, I mean, I might feel that the housing part, I mean, don't get me wrong, I want housing for St. George, I want housing, that was one of my main things. But Leslie, Councillor Armstrong, who is really involved in housing and everything, that might fit her better, because that's what something she does all for her life, right? So it's just what you feel is good for you.
Yes,
That's what I'm
absolutely,
saying.
absolutely. No, we don't say that. We don't say that. So, my intent is to actually approve the existence of particular committees as listed here or reject them. And then after we finish, we actually do a roll call and say who may want to be in each committee. Before we go out to the public and say, no, can you please volunteer for the economic development and balanced population growth? That's my background. So I move to actually approve the establishment of an economic development and balanced population growth advisory committee. Who's going to second it? Let's go for it. All in favor? So if we pass unanimously.
Yes.
So be it. Please. Which one? Tom's done. I think the fire protection committee is distracted. The infrastructure, roads, sidewalks, water, and sewer fire protection. So it's a long, I don't do that. I had a much smaller day, but somebody decided to change. But anyways, we have the second one in the list, and I hope I have the right list. Is volunteering and community support advisory committee, which is supposed to be involved with seniors, youth, multiculturalism, and residents with special needs.
Past that sometimes been referred to as a community partners committee.
No, at this time, I propose to call it volunteering and community support. It's an advisory, they're all advisory. So, any questions about having a volunteering and community support committee? I have a motion to actually, it's going to second it? Okay, all in favor? Aye. We have the third one is infrastructure, and that is one that primarily includes the public works of this town and the fire protection. Yeah, so fire protection is so we're going to have one from one, two committees.
Yeah, I think the one thing that you and I chatted with, was trying to have public works committee and then having
Two
separate,
subcommittees.
and then he has like a public safety committee that would have a fire and policing.
That's a very good point. That's a very good point Jason. Yeah. Essentially, the point of protection is that fire protection is a function that involves volunteers, and they want, to some extent, our town to manage. And that's why I felt it may be important to give the special profile. Actually, people are volunteers, but when I spoke with Jason, who also consulted fire chief for the next fire chief, and he said that we will not be offended if we actually group them together with protection service, you know. So there are two separate committees under infrastructure, right? So we have the question, the motion is to actually adopt an infrastructure committee that's going to have two subcommittees. A public works committee, which is water sewer.
I would probably just say, not even subcommittees, but just make it an independent.
There are two independent committees.
Yes.
Okay, in which case, okay,
Do like public works advisory committee. Committee number 1. Number 2, fire protection and public safety. advisory committee. Divide that infrastructure.
Two.
into two.
yeah, and the deputy mayor suggested that the second committee may become under the
Public safety.
public safety.
Public safety.
Public safety. So we have essentially now a motion to approve two committees. A public works committee and a public safety committee.
I'll make that motion.
Seconded,
One second.
all in favor? We have a third committee which is about parks and recreation. And parks and recreation essentially includes the things that the town expects while you're like, the free stuff. The free stuff. And part of the free stuff is why tourists are coming to our town. You know, so I propose that we establish the Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee.
I'll make that motion. Second.
All in favor? And we have a last committee that was brought in after this was printed, was a proposal on Council of the right to structurally introduce municipal communications and social media committee. Any questions?
So essentially, social media is like the ultimate way in which we communicate. And you have to be technically savvy to do so. The last post that was made on Instagram, for example, was back in 2016. Find a way to, like, social media can be used as a tool to communicate to existing residents and potentially it's a way to like communicate the news, just like events that are going on in town. It's also really to like raise the profile of the community. So that's what I want to do.
And I agree with you on that. It's just that is social media. We really have to watch what we get at them. Because if we even word something just one little wrong way, and it's good to have someone who knows what they're doing
I
to
actually
do
took
that.
a communication and social media course at university.
No, and I'm just saying, like, we really have to watch because
Yeah.
there's so many people that will sue anybody nowadays to get
Yeah.
anything. So we really have to watch how we word stuff, but I agree with you 100%. Social media is the way to go. The only thing is, some people do have computers, some people don't. But I do agree with you, yes, we do need social media, but we have to watch what we put on social media.
Communication back to those seniors that are tech savvy, then we can find another way to communicate with them. Needs to be done.
I mean, we can still put our flyers, we can still put our pamphlets and stuff, but, you know, we still have to really watch it.
If I may add a comment here, the way that I see our deficiencies in social media is that as a government, we don't have set any priorities about what are the issues that we want to push out of the world when it comes to our population, or when it comes to other things which are coming in the town. So an advisory committee, again, we don't have the authority to actually go to Jason's Facebook account for the time and change that. But they have the authority to come to us to tell us we should be pursuing that. And if the council agrees with the recommendation, then it
We can
becomes.
say, yes, we will take this into advisement, and then we, whoever is in on that committee can meet with Jason and say, this is what has been advised to us. How do you feel is this okay to post? Because I would not want to post anything on any social media without it being checked through Jason as through, because being sued is so easy nowadays with social media. I would not want to put this family in legal.
Like, what's an example, Councilor Elson, what is an example of posts that would?
No, but what I'm saying is the way it's worded. Some, you might write it down and it might be perfect, it might sound perfect. Somebody else in the community could read it and take it just a little differently. People misread what people write. As you know, if you've done it through school, you know that when you write something, if someone doesn't like what you write, they're gonna question you on it. And I would just rather us have it done right and have it done properly so that there's never a lawsuit.
There's always an assessment of risk. And
Exactly.
that's what
And that is the key word. That's the key word. As a town and as a council, we cannot just abscond from our responsibility to actually
No, that's what I-
evaluate the risk and say this is good risk and this is bad risk. And, reject this proposal to actually can be bad risk, but there's always the possibility that some person will be offended if you actually raise an issue.
And you have to be careful, you have to, stuff.
Absolutely.
I mean, as a journalist,
Absolutely.
it's not, you should not just put stuff out there.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Correction the facts of it.
But you know, Jason is not neither the expert. Like there are decisions that we may have to do as a council, about whether a communication should go out, and if it's to go out, if it is properly worded.
Yeah.
For critical things, like for example, Canada Day, for Canada Day, when essentially the celebration can be cancelled, every municipality has put out an announcement, we chose to go one way. You know, which is a bit different than others. That decision, if properly done, and it is not pressed by other deadlines, is one of the main council and approve the communication for the general. That's my point.
But,
We don't want misinformation going out.
Absolutely.
but the guidelines at this point are already set with the administration. Correct?
Jason,
It's gotta go to them.
Jason has the control of the computer.
That's right.
So I guess at that point, it's till it comes there, the.
Yes, Jason has the control of the account. But I believe the authority to actually direct Jason belongs to the council. The authority to direct Jason, put that or don't put that, belongs to the council.
We got it. There's still guidelines.
Absolutely, and that's the guideline. The guideline is essentially, he has the control of the computer that puts out Facebook messages. You have the responsibility to actually making sure that this function is performed properly without undue risk to the municipality.
And just to add, your worship, we do have a social media policy that's in place as well. So that's how we sort of govern our social media. But certainly, you know, have a direction from council. So something that will be people.
Yeah, like one thing that I want to add. If the council chooses that, say, for example, balanced population growth is a priority, and we communicate that to our social media community, they may advise us how we can actually do that. The technical aspects of how something is done is a very, very specialized knowledge. So we would like to actually have ideally, someone who will advise us, who has some background, some expertise about how these things are done, what are the costs associated, what are, what are the forum investment that we should do. So anyways,
Yeah, that's a good
question,
So I just want to ask one more thing. So for example, in your rotation, it's mentioned that for our social media policy, to avoid writing postings that are too political. But there's a lot of nuance to that, right? Like how do you define what that is? So those are things just what.
and the council makes a decision about
Other than-
about the, so, the motion is to include municipal communications and social media advisory committee. Anyone second?
Are you making the motion?
Should I make a motion?
You should make an
That's
election,
it.
because you're the one, Alexa, you're the one who brought it up.
The motion has been made, it has been put to questions, the questions have been answered, and I move to actually have a vote on whether or not we're going to have. Well, that's, okay, second.
I'll second this.
Excellent. Excellent. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Pass it down. Well, and that concludes our business for today, and I will move that to adjourn. Thank you very much all.
That was those hours.